Hi, good evening, Manish.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us for this ongoing series on the healthcare trends and outlook. Manish, you've had a phenomenal career starting as an engineer and then you set up your own healthcare business. We would love to hear more about it. And now you're the Chief Operating Officer for MOC, Mumbai Oncocare Centers. Before we get into the details about your overall industry and outlook of the industry, would love to hear about your journey so far and how did you shift from being an engineer to a healthcare professional.
Okay. No, thank you for having me, Vishal. My basic training is in engineering. After that, I was in core applied research for almost 10 years of my life. But I come from a business family and
Yes.
Understood after 8-10 years that maybe I'm not cut out for research. Got into management, did my MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, and then the goal was to start on something own rather than go back to the corporate world. Right out of the college, we started into the healthcare. We dwelt into a lot of ideas, but finally we liked healthcare. So one of my co-founder was my study mate at IIM, and we both wanted to do something on our own. So it worked well. And we both have stayed in US before, so we understood the dental industry well. And that was also the advent of single specialty in India. It was just beginning to organize single specialty healthcare at that point of time, 2011. We thought it's a good need gap in industry and we can add value and we should start on our own. And that's how the journey started. We ran it to about 20 clinics, 5+ years. But the goal was always to have something which is pan-India and couldn't realize that goal. Yeah, scalable. We had a unique model. It was a partnership model. So it worked well from the profitability perspective, but it had inherent downside for the scalability, which we realized at later stage. Once we hit certain number, then we realized that our major time was going into managing partners rather than managing business. Went back to corporate world after 5 years. Worked in diagnostic, went back to Clo, which is the largest chain of dental clinic. And then when wanted to go back to Bombay, which is my hometown, MOC happened. Oncology till that point of time was not considered a single specialty. It was always believed to be within multi-specialty or super specialty.
This is when after COVID or
21, yeah. And they had 5 centers. I wanted to go back to Bombay and I realized that that is a good match. They were good doctors and I had experience of running a single specialty. So it was a good match and that's how MOC happened.
You talked about when you picked up this opportunity with MOC, it had 5 centers and now it's close to 26 centers and still growing. So, and then in the interim, you had external capital as well. What triggered the entire conviction of growing it in such a short span? And what was the thought process behind it?
I'll give you brief background about the MOC first.
Yes.
That will help you understand know, where we are today and why we are there. But I'll talk about the MOC journey first.
Yes.
Founded by 4 medical oncologists, but there are 3 subspecialties within oncology. There is a surgical oncology, there is a medical oncology, and there is a radiation oncology. Right? And up until early this century, the larger role was surgical. If you have cancer, you first go to a surgeon. If the organ where cancer is can be removed, you remove it. And then very small role was for radiation and very little role was there for the medical oncology. Largely patient will go to medical oncologist for palliative care or end of life care. Very few instances of curability or, while you still have an option of cure, you will rarely visit a medical oncologist. That was the period before this century. Now, a lot of pharma companies started focusing research on the molecules which are beyond cytotoxic or chemotherapy molecules. Initially, targeted therapies came, and in India, it started becoming available at the beginning of this century. And it really started becoming affordable post 2008-9. And that's where the journey of medical oncology started. Our founders, the senior most started his practice in 2010. He understood how the science is moving and how the role in cancer journey, patients' treatment journey. The largest time now they spend is with medical oncologists, right? And he started on his own from the beginning as he started his practice. The second co-founder, he started his practice in 2013. Again, he started outside a multi-speciality hospital, small daycare, 3-bedded, 5-bedded daycares. They were practicing in parts of Bombay where that time accessibility was a big issue. Even though you have all the multi-speciality, super speciality hospitals, but most of them are in South Bombay. And patient would have to travel from suburbs to South Bombay to take a chemotherapy. And that's where they started providing access in the suburbs. One started in Borivali, one started in Ghatkopar. And they saw that this is the need of the hour. And this is how it's been practiced in developed world for last 20-25 years.
A lot of it was to increase the awareness about medical oncology? Or?
First is accessibility, because patients did not have a choice. They have to travel to multi-speciality, super speciality hospital every week, every 3 weeks to take medicine. Which is 4-hour infusion, but your travel time and all other peripheral, it will take you a whole day, or maybe sometimes you do an overnight admission. That's where they they saw the need, and they started on their own. In 2017 is when they realized that now the way medical oncology is moving, this should be put into something which is scalable, structured, organized. And 2 of the other co-founders joined. And that's how in 2018, the first 3 centers of MOC came into being. Till 2020, we reached 5 centers. Our first center outside Bombay was in Nashik. One of their senior who was practicing there, he joined hands. And then COVID came. During COVID, they used that time to crystallize all the thoughts, standardize processes. And when we were coming out of COVID, that's when then I joined hands. They were looking for somebody. I was looking to move back. They already had plans that we want to grow it. And that's why they wanted somebody who was non-clinical to lead that part. They were all practicing doctors. They already had a day job. They had the vision, they had the know-how, but they needed somebody who can execute it. And that's how we came together. And from there, then, we strategized. We took a couple of quarters to put plan on the paper, and then started executing one by one. So that has been the journey from that point onwards.
The turning point was largely the conviction that medical oncology, if we increase the accessibility, there is enough opportunity there.
Science is moving, was and is moving in that direction. Today, at least 70% of cancer patients would have to see medical oncologists during their journey, at least once. A lot of them would spend most of their treatment journey with medical oncologists. Radiation is typically 1 week to 4 week period, and that's done. You can't do it again. Surgery is once. You will see surgeon hardly couple of times before surgery and couple of times post surgery. But the journey would be hardly 10-15 days. But a medical oncologist for a cancer patient is now kind of their physician. They will see them until they live. Some people will see them every week, some every 3 weeks, some might be seeing them every year, every 3 years, but they would be in touch with them. And that's the journey, and that's where MOC comes into picture and medical oncology comes into picture.
When you said they relooked at their plans, they already had plans to scale up. So was raising external capital always part of the plan?
Initially, that was not the plan. Initially, plan was to scale. MOC is bootstrapped from day one, and it was bootstrapped at that point of time. But we have always been profitable, internal accruals, and they would only take money what is required to run their homes. Everything else would be parked into the company. And that was enough for us to grow, let's say, by a couple of centers every year.
Can you take us through your process and thought process? Why Tata Capital, and then subsequently you also raised capital with Elevation now?
Correct.
What was behind the thought process of selecting an investor?
We had this mindset that we'll only open centers which then never have to shut it down, because for us it's like a one-way street. Once we open it, we have to be able to support it even though single patient
Not
doesn't
making
walk in.
loss, yeah.
That's how we make our budgets and plans. Worst case scenario, we still should be able to support that center. We'll only open what we can support through our other profitable centers. But we thought that if we do only couple of centers every year, it will take long time before we can be a pan-India presence, and we knew that this access is required now. So we took decision that we should raise external capital from growth perspective. We never needed money for cash burn, but from growth perspective, we needed external capital. Apart from capital, it also gets you somebody who can bring other aspects which we might be missing.
Governance and processes.
Right. That's how we zeroed on that we want to raise capital. We looked at we knew two, three funds which were in healthcare. Some of them had approached us before if we needed capital, because we were the pioneer in that space. And a lot of people who were studying that space, they would come across and they would reach out that, are you looking for capital? Then please reach out to us. We had built those relationships. And we were sure that though it is a business, it's run by medical oncologists and they are all in their 40s. They would want to build something for which lasts,
legacy,
right? Because they are not going to now practice under any other brand. They always would want to practice under the same umbrella. And so they wanted to build something which lasts. So it was important that we get a partner who subscribes to our ethos, thought process, and doesn't change our plan only from the financial numbers perspective. Of course, it's a for-profit business. Numbers are important, but it's not from the perspective that only numbers will be discussed. Right? And that's where we saw match with Tata Capital. Of course, from the brand perspective, trust perspective, and also the people. We met Vishal, we met Vamesh Bhai, and we realized that these are the people we can work with. Right? They bring lots of experience from the healthcare perspective and other specialties perspective, how to look at this business from different lenses. But at the same time, they prescribe to our ethos and the way we wanted to build the business. And name Tata goes well from the trust, ethics, and cancer, all three perspectives. And people were very nice. So we thought we don't want to go anywhere else and took funding from them.
Rather than looking at smaller tier 2, tier 3, the focus still seems to be metro or the bigger cities, right? Ahmedabad, Mumbai, you mentioned Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida. What's driving that versus saying, let me go and probably even flood the tier 2, tier 3?
I'll say it's a little mixed. If you see our initial journey in Maharashtra, in most tier 2, tier 3 towns of Maharashtra, we are present. Our initial journey, though we started from Bombay, our first foray out of Bombay was Nashik, not Pune. So we knew that we need to create access in tier 2, tier 3 cities also. Right. If you see our first 3 years of journey, we have centers in all smaller towns of Maharashtra, Kolhapur, Aurangabad, and they came before our Pune center. Then we have Indore, we have Nashik, we have Nagpur. All that are tier 2 towns in economic parlance. And that's how our initial growth happened. Along the way, we also saw that operationally, to manage one center in a city, it becomes because we want to give the same experience to patient, what he gets at my center 1 versus my center 20. Operationally, it becomes a little difficult to have the same thing replicated when there is only one center and you cannot have all the specialities, all the non-clinical specialities visiting the center and managing the center from that perspective. Second, we also realized that the access was also a problem in tier 1 center. It's not that, tier 1 was completely served well. There are suburbs, like I say, Borivali, Ghatkopar, those suburbs had no access. Though they are part of Bombay, they did not have a quality access. We are in Panvel. It's a Bombay, but it's outskirts. We are in Thane. We have a clinic in Kalyan. So these are satellite centers where access was a problem. We thought operationally it makes sense to manage it. Plus access is even a problem in these cities.
Yeah.
So we thought first we will do that. Even in North, our plan is that first 1 year we will be in NCR, but then we will grow beyond NCR.
NCR, yeah.
We will go to towns like Agra, Chandigarh, Jaipur. But then my team here is settled and they will manage it.
Yeah.
I can't manage from Bombay a Chandigarh. In order to manage Chandigarh, I need to be present in somewhere in North where I can get the talent. And then if they are from driving distance, 4 or 5 hours, they'll be able to manage it. The goal is to go to those towns also.
Right.
But start from, the metro market and then expand.
Expand that side.
So it becomes better from both perspectives because you get good talent, non-clinical and clinical both in these cities, and then you expand so that your experience remains kind of uniform.
Yeah. And in terms of the model, today is largely cash patients or insurance patients. With the ongoing government support, with new schemes, Ayushman and other state schemes, how do you balance that piece around making sure that the patients who are not able to afford cash or insurance, they're also taken care of?
Government used to do a lot in cancer, but Ayushman has taken it to next level because private participation started happening post Ayushman. You will see a lot of private capital being invested to serve Ayushman patients, and then government becomes a payer, and government kind of becomes a empanelment person and a payer. It's like an insurance. So government pays the premium for people, and those people can access the cashless treatment from government empaneled centers where government monitors the quality and kind of designs what can be done and what can't be done. That has done wonders for cancer patients' journey for sure. There's a lot of cancer patients who would either have to sell out their houses. Accessibility has gone up tremendously. MOC is for patients and it is for medical oncologists. We cannot stay away from those patients because we get a lot of patients who might be able to afford initially, but then during the journey they kind of get into where the money is over, but the treatment is still pending and they don't remain on the therapy. And therapies which are curative, they would take 3 cycles but will be out of money for next 3 cycles. So we wanted to always ensure that all our patients complete the therapies because goal is not only to have private patients but also ensure that they remain on the therapy. So from that perspective, what we've done actively is for every center of ours, our doctor or the chief consultant there, we arrange their attachment with the Ayushman center. Because our centers are 3 to 5,000, 7,000 square feet. It becomes difficult to kind of handle the kind of flow which Ayushman will bring and run both private and Ayushman under the one roof. Because both need certain different processes and different way of working from that perspective. The way we have solved for that is our consultant is connected to a Ayushman facility. And whoever is our patient who cannot afford treatment at our place, we treat them. So my consultant or our consultant is attached there and under his care, he gets treatment there. So he doesn't have to pay out of pocket, but he still continues the care which he was receiving at my place. So from that perspective, he has a continuum of care and he doesn't even have to pay. And we have actively done that at most of our centers so that we can keep our patients on the treatment until they require.
And you have probably the arrangement is with you, MOC with the centers.
Ayushman centers. We have tried to solve it from that perspective because within the same organization, we were kind of struggling to see whether we can run both.
How important is clinical outcome or excellence? Because you said you made a point that you would want your patients to complete the whole therapy, right?
Correct.
And that's an important matrix for you to also support that. So how do you see clinical outcomes play a role in your business?
See, this is any healthcare clinical outcome is the most important aspect. We track it through technology. So we have our own EMR. When a patient makes the first visit, right? From that perspective, we know what is the intent of the treatment which we are giving. So that gets recorded that, okay, this is the intent. And then we track that. across the patient's journey. That if my intent was curative, then has he completed the treatment, or has he dropped out? Then how do I get him back on the treatment and he completes the cycles? If my intent is palliative or end of life, then we have a wonderful home healthcare team. So once the active treatment or active intervention is over, then the patient gets handed over to the home care team. And then they see till the end, visit their home. They are always in touch with their primary oncologist and ensure that the patient till last is getting treatment as directed by their primary medical oncologist. So from that perspective, we ensure that from the day patient walks into an MOC till either the end of treatment or end of journey, whatever might be the case, because we are in oncology, so there are patients who will succumb to the disease. But we have recorded the intent and we record the journey till the end. We monitor that actively.
How much technology has a role to play in medical oncology? That is one. The other is, what is the level of investment or largely investment in research as an organization you focus on?
I'll take the research first and then we'll talk about technology piece. When it comes to research, there are largely three areas, right? One is your basic research. That is usually with the pharma companies. Then there is a research or based on retrospective data and your molecular oncology data, precision oncology. That's one piece of research. And one piece is supporting the basic research through clinical research. We, from day one, have a very active clinical research wing. So most of the trials for the pharma companies, when they want to see whether it is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, across all phases, we have out of our 26 centers, 5 centers are active clinical research sites. We have our own independent ethics committee. And as of now, we might have about 23 active trials. Might have completed almost about another 30 plus trials which we have completed. And in oncology, we might be the highest recruiter in most of the trials we take. We play a very active role in the clinical research domain. The second part, which is on the retrospective data, we have a research and publication wing. A couple of our oncologists lead that initiative. And we actively analyze, because we have our email, we actively analyze data and present it. So we had 3 posters at ESCO in US this year. WCLC, which is coming in September, we have 5 posters and our oncologists will travel and present them. So that's based on our patients' retrospective data and what are the findings from the Indian cohort perspective in certain cases of cancers. So we actively do that research and publish it for larger consumption and play a big role there. Currently, we are working on molecular oncology and precision medicine piece. It is still very fluid in India, molecular oncology piece, from the affordability perspective. From the science perspective, I think we are at par with whatever is going on in global. But from the affordability perspective, because in most developed countries, this is covered by insurance. In India, it is still not covered by insurance. And most of the people end up doing this test out of pocket.
The success rate is higher in molecular?
So, we have done adaptation in India. So most companies, what they have done is now they have come up with, let's say, organ specific rather than a comprehensive panel. Comprehensive panel might cost you upwards of $3,000. Now there are as low as in $100 or $200, you might get an organ specific panel, which suffices in most cases. Right, as a preliminary case. If somebody has a lung cancer, somebody has a breast cancer, and that's the primary, then you would spend $200 and get the test done. And it will give you some mutations to work with, and at least line 1, line 2, you are sorted. So in 80 to 90% cases, that helps. You will still have 10-20% cases where you would be better off with a comprehensive panel to start with. And in developed world, most people are starting with the comprehensive panel. Now, Indian adaptations of these comprehensive panels are recently becoming available at $1,000 or lesser than $1,000. It's still non-affording for most population, but it is getting there. I think if it goes sub $500, it will become more affordable.
But from an outcome perspective, that is more positive outcome for the patient, is it? Molecular therapy.
It helps because most of your targeted therapy and immunotherapy look for certain mutations. Now, organ-specific panels will give you those mutations. But how the comprehensive is different is that if there is something else which could be resistant or it could aid your treatment better, then you wouldn't lose time. Let's say you got a mutation, you started on that therapy without knowing that there was a resistant mutation for that therapy, then you would give that therapy for 2-3 months, won't see the result, and then you will go for comprehensive. So you will save time. In developed world, now it is becoming common for people to start with the comprehensive molecular test rather than going for organ specific. But in India, if you do only a comprehensive, not many people will take it and purpose will not be solved. You still go with organ specific in 70-80% of the cases.
Interesting.
And it works in most cases. You will always have 5, 7, 8% cases where you could have been wise if you would have done comprehensive to begin with. But doctors know, so they see a couple of cycles, and if they see that I don't see a result, then they go for comprehensive. And if affordability is not a challenge, then you go from comprehensive from day one. So molecular is still, from affordability perspective, it's still settling in. There are a couple of technologies. There's one Chinese technology coming in. It's making it more affordable. But the validations of data is still going on. So we want to get into that piece, but we are waiting for the right opportunity. Currently, it is important for us to use existing highways for our patients so that it's affordable. We don't want to get into something and then it is unaffording for my patient. Because we are letting the technology and the commerce part settle. Then we will invest more in that piece. Right now, we have done partnerships with labs who are running this so that it remains affordable, and there is a partnership in terms of data sharing and research. So currently it's mix of outsource and in-house. Eventually, if at the right time, we might do it in-house.
From a larger kind of an industry perspective, what are the key things that you're seeing shifting, the big shifts that are happening in Oncocare, for example?
So we briefly touched upon that from 3 specialties: surgical, radiation, and medical oncology. 20 years back, if anyone have had cancer, mostly they will directly go to a surgeon. With the advent of medicines, now I would say in at least metro cities, there is very high chance that you would see a medical oncologist as the first point of contact. It's still not 100%, but it's I would say more than 50% as of now in metro cities. So that's a good, and that has changed.
It's a big shift,
Initially, a lot of drugs which were positioned for certain cancer types are now having indications added every month for different cancer types that the same drug works. So research is moving. The science is also moving in a direction where in a lot of cases now, you would first give medicine, shrink the tumor if you can, and then do surgery only if it's required. And if it's required, do a minor surgery after shrinking the tumor rather than a major surgery before giving the medicine. So that's the biggest shift which is happening, where surgery is becoming second option, and medicine is becoming primary option. It's still a long way to go, and surgeons will always have a role to play. But in certain disease types, it is becoming where you first shrink the tumor so that surgery is more purposeful and minor.
Yeah.
And then, like even in head and neck, now recently in certain places, they've started. Otherwise, head and neck is the largest in India, and
Right.
medicine had a very low role in that.
Okay.
And mostly it was surgery followed by radiation. But now certain indications are coming where medicine is also playing a role, active role in the treatment part. So we see that even next 5 to 7 years, this trend will continue where medicine and a lot of people will live with cancer.
Right.
So it is going towards chronic where you would be on active treatment for every 3 weeks for 3 years, 5 years. Because you have three parts of the disease. One is which is curative when diagnosis happened. One was non-curative, only symptomatic or palliative treatment when the diagnosis happened. But the middle part, which is the control phase, where you have the active disease, but medicine is kind of keeping it where it was and not letting it grow. And those patients then live 3-5 years, but they need active intervention every so often. Right? So that is growing.
That is also a big,
And affordability also has played a bigger role there. To give you an example, immunotherapy 1.5 years back for a lung cancer patient would cost you about 25 to 30 lakh a year.
Right.
Today it's 10 lakh a year.
Wow. Yeah.
And in next 2 years, once a lot of this product go out of patent and become generic, it would go towards 4 to 5 lakh a year.
Right. Right.
So accessibility and affordability will catapult, and more patients will be able to afford, and then they will remain on active treatment for 2, 3, 5 years.
Right.
So we see that shift. There is a shift on the awareness side also. It's slower so that the diagnosis happens faster, because one of the problem which India faces is also on the awareness and the diagnosis side. Sooner the diagnosis happens, better chance of getting it completely cured of the disease. Right? So stage 1 breast cancer might have 80% chance of, curability.
Right.
Whereas stage 4, it's very limited. Right? So from that perspective, that awareness piece is also moving, and a lot of work needs to be done in that area, but it is becoming better than it used to be. So both part, one is the treatment part and one is the awareness part. Both where you see the change trend in a positive direction.
Maybe time will tell which are the better model, because you got one stage, you got the hospitals like HCG that takes care of all the three. And then you have specialty sort of setups like MOC, which is purely medical or medicine based, which is better. But both from a patient perspective, because sometimes you may feel that somebody who's giving all the three under the same roof, there should not be any conflict of interest. Whether somebody needs medical treatment, is that better than going to that, like you said, before it goes to surgery, it should be medical, trying to reduce the size of the tumor before it goes to the surgery, and then radiation maybe last. So, is there a preferred model or nothing?
Framing from better or worse perspective is not the right framing, I would say.
Right.
Because today, in most of this multi-speciality or HCG kind of setup also, there will be tumor boards and they will decide the treatment journey, largely. Access perspective, this bespoke models, I believe, are better.
It'll increase.
Because you can't create, let's say in NCR, 15 HCG, but I can put 15 MOCs in NCR.
But is it sequential? And this is more for general knowledge, and saying before anybody goes to surgical treatment, and he has to go through medical treatment?
It's not like sequential, and it is disease specific. In most cases, it should be at least discussed in the tumor board that what is the right action once the case presents itself. Right. So I would maybe numbers, there might be 30-40% cases where it might be very crystal clear when the case presents that who should see it first, and that happens at most places where there is a multi-speciality approach or there is a super speciality approach. Even though I don't have, let's say, a surgeon or radiation oncologist at my place, but when a case presents and if my physician understands that this should first go to a surgeon, then he will send it to a surgeon.
recommend.
It is very crystal clear in 30-40% cases. In 20-25% cases, you would want to take it to a tumor board and decide what is the right approach, because it's a complex case and how do you. And the middle part, you might still need more workup before you decide what path to be taken. Right. So when a case presents yourself, you would probably do a lot more diagnosis before you end up deciding what should be the right treatment modality or who should start first. So from that perspective, I don't think it is a better or which is better. I would say best thing is if you are a cancer patient, you reach to an oncologist. That's the best part. That's the starting point. And then in most cases, that person will take care of your journey, at least where it should begin. What I was referring to is that in the journey, they are going to spend majority of the time with the medical oncologist. So there the access is important. It is better if it is closer to their home. It's better if they don't have to travel as much. It's better if it's not where you're going to pick up some other infections. If it's a 4-hour infusion, then you are out in 4.5 hours rather than 10 hours, 12 hours. From that perspective, accessibility is, and that can be created much faster with a bespoke daycare models rather than a full setup.
Thank you so much, Manish. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Same.
And we'll continue to keep taking your insights and increasing our insights in the whole space. So thanks again.